welcome to Scale Car Garage. Well, we're just going to pick up from where we left off. This is kind of like part 2 of the Cheetah chassis. And what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the excess can material. So we have a nice bearing carrier for the motor. But before we start doing that, I just want to talk about what you're going to need, or at least what I use. So I'm using a Dremel tool that goes up to 30,000 RPM. I use a little angle, or sort of right angle drive, if you will, to really help. It helps in cutting so I can see what I'm doing. You're going to need a lot of cutting discs, okay, because you do go through quite a few of these. And the other thing to keep handy too is, of course, the screwdriver and a wrench to change the cutting discs, because you will be having to change them. More importantly though, safety first, please. Please use leather gloves. Leather gloves for this kind of work. For one thing, this is going to get hot, so you want to insulate your hands. Also, heaven forbid, a little slip, the leather before your finger. You can always get a new pair of gloves, right? And also some sort of face shield, or where did I put my safety, or safety glasses. You won't see me with them on, but you should use them, because you never know when something can go flying. So let's get straight to cutting the can. Here we go on Scale Car Garage. Now, as you can see, this is going to make a little bit of a mess, which is why I've got newspaper everywhere. It does make a wee bit of a mess. It's going to be a little loud. I'm going to turn, first of all, let's plug in the Dremel tool. And we're going to take this up to 15,000 RPM. Okay, so you can hear this, like. Now, the other thing you might be wondering, before I put my gloves on, is why I've left the axles in here. A couple of things. Number one, I really recommend, and I'll show you, make a cut, stop. The reason I say that is because you can actually produce enough heat, if you just can keep cutting and cutting and cutting, to actually melt the solder. And you don't want to do that. You've got a nice solder joint, as you can see. So you make a cut, let it cool. Make another cut, let it cool. And keep, if you can, the axles through here, that just in case it gets a little too hot and things fall off sometimes. But let's not let that happen. And this will help keep everything aligned, just in case we throw too much heat into this. So let's get started with this. Here we go. All right, let's put our gloves on. I know you can't see it, but I do have safety glasses on. Okay, we're going to turn our Dremel tool on, and away we go. Oh, I should mention, sorry, first, the first cut I make is actually, I don't know if you can see this, right along the back of the can. That's the first cut we're going to make. So here we go. So as you can see, we've made the first cut on the can. You can see that right there. And now we're going to cut along the rail on each side, and the can will come off. So let's get to that. As you can see, we've cut there, and we're just going to let it cool a little bit. All right, that looks good. One more cut, and our can will be done. I'm going to let it cool, though. I can actually feel it's kind of warm. So let's just let that go. All right, one more cut. And you'll see how the can, you take a little screwdriver here if you like, and just snap it off. There we go. So there's the piece we've cut off. You can see that. And here is our carrier. Now that's kind of bulky, but we're going to let this cool down, and I'll show you how we'll trim away all the excess material that we don't need around here. But let's let this cool off a little bit, and we'll get to it straight away. Just some straight cuts first. And there we go, folks. There is our Driveshaft carrier for the Cheetah chassis. Now, of course, it always helps. Let's just take this. Make sure everything fits okay still. Look at that. We're all good. We're all good. And there we go. Okay, so while we have the Dremel tool out and set up, if you remember this is going to be our drive shaft, from an old motor. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the drive shaft, that is this motor shaft right here, and that should give us enough length to create a drive shaft. So let's do that. There is our drive shaft. Alrighty, let's get the chassis. Put this through here. There we go. And you can see how this will actually go in like so. And as you can see, with a coupling, that's going to be just about perfect. And there is our drive shaft. Before we go too far on this, we've got an interior to fit in the Cheetah. So why don't we go back to the other bench and take a look at our interior options for the body of the Cheetah and how it'll work with our chassis. All right, see you at the other bench. So here we are at the other workbench. Okay, got my glasses here, of course. So as you can see, we have the body. We have our chassis that we have been working on. And here is the flat interior card that we got out of the body, which is cool. We're going to use the roll bar and the rear view mirror and the dashboard. But I have two interiors that I think could work really well for this car that would be full interiors. This one was taken from a Scalextric's Ferrari GTO, and it actually fits in quite nicely. It's going to need some alteration here. Let me just zoom this in for you so you can see. It's going to need some alteration, but actually it has a rear deck, nice bucket seats, and I think it can certainly work very well with this Cheetah. The other interior here is actually from an MRRC Cobra 427 Cobra, which was based on the monogram snap type model. You guys know all that. Here's what's really interesting though. When I put it right on the chassis, it fits perfectly. Look at this, it fits perfectly, like it was made for it. Total fluke, a total fluke, honest to goodness, a total fluke. However, it's not set back far enough actually for the Cheetah body. The other thing that this interior does not have is a rear deck, so I would have to graft one on or use something like that. But anyway, what I'm going to do, and this is why it's probably going to take a little longer than I'd hoped, I'm going to take these interiors and I'm going to make a mold for each. I can use them for other projects too, so it won't go to waste, but I'm going to make a mold and then cast a couple of them and fit them. We'll have fun fitting it to the Cheetah body to make sure that all the mechanicals clear and we can work. So that's probably going to be our next episode. I won't take you through the whole casting procedure because that's relatively straightforward, but I'll show you bits and bobs of it. But I think this is where we're going to leave it off for now because we've got our the fundamentals of our chassis. And so next episode, we'll cast some interiors with seats and so forth, fit them to the body of our Cheetah, and make sure that it doesn't interfere with any of the mechanical workings of the chassis, and then we'll take it from there. So it looks like this may be a couple more episodes, but just thought I'd move this along so you guys would have something to watch. Thanks again for joining me at Scale Car Garage, and we'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe.